The Mary and the Lizzie, they were made right here, but you'll never build the likes of them, I fear, for they were the finest ever sailed the sea. They were built by the hands of men like me. Well, thank you, Dad, for all your skill, but the Clyde is a river that'll no stand still. Ye did gay well, but we'll do more. Make way for the finest of them all, Q4. La 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 la.
Job 736, the latest in the famous line of ships built by John Browns at Clydebank. Jameson Clark reporting. I'm standing here on the foundation of the Royal Box. Up there, Her Majesty will name the ship and launch her. We're still in the dark as to whether the new liner will be a queen in name as well as class. 350 yards away, the length of 3 football pitches, the River Clyde. Not very wide, but deep enough just to float her. I want to take you back 2 years and show how they've built this latest Cunarder. Job 736. July 1965. Berth number 4, John Brown's biggest. These ground logs held the cradle of Job 534, the Queen Mary, and 552, the Queen Elizabeth. The keel blocks are ready for the steel of the next biggest, 736. The berth slopes gently to the water, the exact slope to launch her. Each of the keel blocks is raised to an exact height and held by wedges. But in July 65, nothing there. John Browns have landed the Cunard order for this controversial successor to the Queen's, part-time Atlantic Greyhound, part cruise ship. To this fitting out basin will come 736 when she has slid off berth 4. But this is 65 and we're getting ready for the shipbuilding equivalent of laying the foundation stone.
What's your job?
I'm a shipwright, trade.
Now, what does that mean?
I work on a ship from the beginning and right to the end.
How do you feel about working on this new ship?
Well, it should be something new and it's something famous throughout the world, I think. And it should give us a chance to show the old men that we can do even better than they did.
This is just the cradle for the great liner, but long before that, the backroom boys have been busy in the experimental tank.
His job is to cut huge problems down to size. Just how do you get your answers from these scale models?
Oh, by obeying the Vio Brutal law.
Oh, for goodness sake, that tells me a lot. What is this VL over what you said, root something?
Oh, Jimmy, I think you went to the wrong school. Look, I'll show you. If you want to test the model at a speed corresponding to the ship of 28 knots, I must run the model in the tank at 390 feet a minute. We're towing a model of the liner to determine whether it is up to the design requirements.
Now, this particular model here, it seems to have a rather unusual bow shape.
Oh, yes. The ram bulb configuration is a device to give us that little bit more speed for the same power.
And what about propulsion, propellers and so on?
Propellers, well, having got the underwater form right, we then make model propellers, rather like this. These are made to very high standards of accuracy, a few thousandths of an inch. And these are fitted onto the model on their own shaft, and each one is powered separately. And we measure the thrust of the propeller and the power, the torque required to drive the propeller, and also the number of revolutions.
And at the end of the day, how do you expect your tests here in this experiment tank to make out with the ship when she goes on trial?
Well, we hope to be within a very few percent of what the ship does on trial.
You'll be disappointed if you're not.
Well, the sword will drop, won't it?
When we were building the old Queen liners, raw steel was brought straight out to the berth. It was cut and burned right on the spot there, open to all kinds of weather. Well, prefabrication has changed all that. Huge prefabricated sections are built in here, undercover, and moved right out into position on the hull.
La 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 la.
Halfway up berth 4, a key point. Beside it, they're assembling the giant steel boxes, pushing them together the way a kid would do with building blocks. Beside the berth, they're welded together to make the centerpiece of the keel section. The after part of the hull will be added all the way back to the water's edge. This keel has a flat double bottom at the center. There's the mark. The center line has got to bisect the keel blocks exactly, or the bow and the stern would be lying squint. The great hammerhead cranes ease this key center section into place, just to a hair's breadth. Done it. Young George marvels how they did it. Certainly, nobody ever laid a keel this way before. But soon this keel section will vanish as they pile up the rest of the hull high as a kirk steeple. From here, 150 yards to the bow, same again to the stern. The men of 100 trades get going.
One thing I do know, the Q4, whatever she sails, she'll be much admired.
Any idea about the name?
I think it would be quite a gesture if they deviated and called it Sir Winston Churchill.
The Endeavour. It's a good word, that Endeavour.
Well, I think the name of the new ship will be Victoria. I think it'll be a royal name.
I'd like to say Queen Elizabeth II.
Scottish Queen. You need to be a she anyway. It couldn't be Prince Charles, that's one thing.
It doesn't make any difference to me what they call this ship at all.
Either call it Prince of Wales or Prince Charles.
Queen of the Clyde.
Princess Anne. The last of the McGinns.
The last of the Mohicans or the Higgins.
Just say I would call it the last of the McGinns because I think it will be the last one anyway.
The Britannica, the old Cunard name.
I think I'll call it Queen Mary myself.
She'll be a lovely ship right enough, but I don't think she'll be anything like the two that was before her.
Well, you know, last time I was here, the keel blocks were just being laid, the cradle was empty. You boys have certainly been busy since then.
Oh, aye, we don't let the grass grow under our feet here, Jimmy. You know, the world's watching us in this job, and as the big boss says, we're fairly looping along, you know.
Yeah. When you work on a ship of this magnitude, just what are your feelings?
We're very proud because, as you can see yourself, she's actually just built like a gigantic yacht. She's got a yacht finish. I mean, the men themselves won't admit it, but they are proud. They're definitely proud to be associated with this ship.
Get up, get out, you lazy lout, get into your working clothes. Up to your knees in oil and grease and do what your gaffer says.
All this time, while the hull has been taking shape out in the open, backroom boys of the John Brown Engine Works are meeting the demands of designers who need an accuracy, even in a job this size, measured to a steel shaving 1,000th part of an inch. Tell me, Mr. Stewart, what is this? What does this thing hold?
This is the high-pressure turbine for the Cunard.
What goes inside there, though?
Well, briefly, 28,000 horsepower.
How come?
Well, it's equipped with a rotor. The large power is largely coming from high revolutions.
And what are these rotors?
Well, the rotor is a spindle with 12 wheels equipped with turbine blades around the periphery. The rotor's running at close on 6,000 revs per minute.
And what other kind of things do you cope with in this engine works?
Well, the ship is going to have 3 boilers. Each boiler will have an evaporation of just over 100 tons per hour of steam.
That makes 100 tons of steam in an hour?
Just over 100 tons of steam. This is the normal evaporation of the boiler.
How does this compare with, say, the other Queens?
Well, the other Queens had more boilers with 4 shafts. But I think a point worth noting is that in this ship, we are developing the highest horsepower per shaft in any ship built to date.
And now the condensers, I think I saw them in our tour around.
Would you like to estimate the number of tubes in the condenser?
Well, at a guess, I'd say maybe, 1,500, couple of thousand?
No, close on 9,000.
And now the turbines themselves?
Well, the set primarily is 2 turbines driving through a set of gearing coupled to the shafting and thence the propellers. There's another low-pressure turbine, much larger, and a set of double reduction gearing.
I noticed to the propeller shaft anyway.
Yes.
I saw that in the yard, go through the yard, and it occurred to me, how on earth did you get that out of this shop?
The weight on that shaft is about 23 tons.
And before all this machinery is fitted into the vessel, how do you know it's right?
Well, we carry out a shop test. In this, the gearing, the turbines are aligned in exactly the same relative positions as they will be in the ship.
So you know it's absolutely right.
Well, this is the guts of the whole job. It being the boiler room, you have 3 of them. You're now standing on the seat of one here. Supplies all the power for main machinery and domestic. Without this, the ship wouldn't move. Going up, we have the economizers, and ducting follows up from there. Inside the funnel, you have miscellaneous small units for ventilation throughout your main machinery spaces. She is designed for perfect combustion, and perchance there should be some unburned fuel. The design at the top of the funnel throws all such exhaust clear of the ship.
And what lies behind us here in the forward part of the ship?
Well, this, I feel, is the real heartbeat of the ship. You have 3 generators giving you your electric power, air conditioning plant, sprinkler plant for fire protection, and overhead you have your main control room.
When I get up here to the promenade deck, I feel like Jonah coming back out of the whale's belly.
You're now going down to the luxurious passenger accommodation. This is main deck. We then follow down below to foyer deck. A special feature to note there is the sunken garden effect at the forward entrance.
Well, no doubt it looks very rough and ready just now, but at the end of the day, I suppose it'll be very, very serious.
We have an order we'll fulfill with the touch of the master and a bit more skill.
As the steelworkers pile up the sections, the hull has risen until it dominates the town of Clydebank. After the launch, there will just be empty space. Mr. Kameen, as technical director for Cunard, the owners, a job like this must present you with quite a few problems.
Well, it does and it doesn't. We have been dealing with this sort of thing for 20, 30 years, so that it is only a question of magnitude, really, not detailed problem.
But the magnitude of the job, what about these huge 6-bladed propellers?
Well, they weigh about 30 tons, and again, we've been dealing with this on the Queens for 30 years. These in particular are 6-bladed. The reason for that is we are very conscious of passenger comfort on the ship.
In what way? Do you mean in terms of vibration?
Vibration aft, yes.
Now, the rudder also. Yeah, I saw that arriving and going in. That seemed to me to be a colossal job.
Again, it is a fairly big one, no bigger than the Queen's. Probably the big departure here is the hinge pin, the pintle as we call it, which weighs about 5 tons, about 9-10 foot long. This has been rather a problem to fit this alone. Reliability is our prime consideration and has been to the fore in all our thinking on this ship. She must sail when she is required to sail. She must arrive when she is required and scheduled to arrive.
In rough weather, to keep the ship steady, stabiliser fins will swing out from the hull under the waterline. There's the place where this one goes. If you've seen a fish, salmon, sitting steady in the river, you'll get the idea. The fins tilt and undulate and keep her steady. All these stabilisers must be fitted and made watertight before number 736 can be launched. Mr. Constantine, you're the man concerned with the fabrication of this marvellous gleaming superstructure. Now, how do you get the material here?
Well, we get it from Canada in the shape of ingots and then transport it to our Alcan Rogerson Works, where we then roll it down to the sizes which is required.
It's an incredible skill, I always think, the operators of these cogging mills have in making this great juggernaut of a machine with its 4,000-ton pressure twist and spin and flatten a chunk of white-hot metal and reduce it from a huge ingot down to the sheet less than half an inch thick, 10 feet wide and 35 feet long. Before it ever leaves the factory, another department shapes and cuts the plate into sheets the exact size the designers have called for, so that prefabrication can begin right away.
But here we've got such a wide, vast area that because it's aluminium this is, that we are able to use, take advantage of this. 15 years ago, it wasn't even dreamt of, I don't think, really, that we could weld a superstructure of this nature. Of course, welding aluminium differs entirely to welding steel.
If the men who set up this shipyard over 70 years ago hadn't chosen a spot opposite this tributary of the Clyde, John Browns would never have built the Cunarders. That post out in the River Cart is the mark they aim for. You can't help thinking they'll never do it. Not only launch this giant into such a narrow river, but finally sail her down to the sea round all these twisty bends. Months and months of dredging have to be done in the Clyde and at the mouth of the Cart to dig a trench deep enough to take job 736. The Port Authority dredgers have to gouge 80,000 tons of clay to give the depth of water 736 needs in a run off the launching ways. Two tons of sludge and junk every lift. A morning's work? Well, 1,000 tons. They sail it out to sea, dump it, and back for more. That ram-bulb bow is going to need a lot of space in this fitting out basin. Well, you were master of works here at this yard 32 years ago when the 534 was launched. How did you feel on the day of the launch?
Well, on that occasion, it was a very great moment of excitement, as a matter of fact.
Were you anxious at all?
Most anxious.
But nothing did, in fact, go wrong?
Nothing went wrong at all. It was a delightful moment.
Will you be there, Mr. Reid, to see it?
I hope so. I hope so. That's if I'm spared. I'm an old man now, you know.
Well, Mr. Henning, come out to the big day now.
Hello, Jim. Just having a look at the launch cradle. We'll be shipping launch poppets any day now.
Now, just what are the launch poppets?
Well, launch poppets, in simple language, are simply blocks of timber tailor-made to the hull of the ship and fitted to the top surface of the sliding ways. Now, the sliding ways are simply 6 feet broad blocks of timber laid on top of the standing ways, between which is a very liberal coating of tallow, black soap, and sperm oil. Approaching the time of launch, we remove all the shores and bilge blocks from under the ship, and then the sliding ways, complete with the poppets, go down to the river with the ship, and as the ship becomes waterborne and the stern begins to float, the whole concentration of weight is taken by the forward launch cradle.
But before the launch, when the last of the timber shores has been knocked away, she's held only by the triggers.
She's held in by these triggers just up until the moment of launching. Now, the lady on the platform presses the launch button. These 6 triggers fall simultaneously, and then gravity takes over.
Okay, but just how does this blessed thing work?
Well, this is a question we're frequently asked in the design office, so we thought we'd save ourselves a lot of trouble and perhaps give a better explanation by having a model built which demonstrates the mechanism of the trigger. The mechanism is essentially a system of levers. The largish force of the ship being applied to the tongue of the trigger here, and each lever in turn being restrained by another lever until the last link in the mechanism has indeed just a small force applied to it.
And when you press the button, bingo.
And a full house.
But it all happens so quickly.
I'd be most worried if it doesn't happen quickly on the day, but perhaps for demonstration purposes we can slow down the speed of the model. and let you see the operation as it actually takes place.
Now, pilot, when the triggers go down, you're up here right at the highest point. Now, what happens then?
Oh, just a wee minute. We've a lot of things to do before the triggers go off. First of all, I brief my tugs before I come on board. And usually I'm on board here on a ship like this about an hour and a half before. And in that way, I brief the riggers who are up forward and the stagers who are on the stern.
Your crew?
My crew. Just before the launch, I've already placed the boats with their flags. And in this case, I've got to put one down below the launch, one above, and one at the mouth of the cart.
Are you a bit on edge, though?
Oh, yes, I'm on edge all the time then. In fact, I have occasion to go over and look over the side to see how the official party is doing the traditional walk from the stern down to the stern and back again. I'm always watching for the wind, and every so often I like to rub my cufflinks. I think that's the only way I can keep the wind down. And then, as the triggers act, I see that imperceptible movement between the cranes, and then she starts to slide so gracefully down.
Quietly?
Quietly and without noise on the ship, but every so often you hear each of the chains taking their weight as she goes down to check her.
And when the ship takes to the water, is that an anxious moment for you?
Well, I think that's my most anxious moment, because I have to get my tugs on as fast as I can and release all the check wires.
And how do you feel at that time?
Once she's got the 2 wires out, fore and aft, I'm happy as Larry.
Make way for the finest of them all, Q4. We've worked and sweated and toiled and now see the expert's hand from stern to bow. She's ready for the torments of the sea. She's a credit to the Clyde and you and me. Thank you, Dad, for all your skill. But the Clyde is a river that'll no stand still. You did gay well, but we'll do more. Make way for the finest of them all, Q4.